This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Erolai, Keiss, and Mark, bringing you all your Defo news and talk. Welcome to Season 4, the LDBT era. Now let's start the show.
Welcome everyone to episode 118 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded this Thursday, September 10th, 2020. I'm Mark, one of your hosts. And a new introduction, if you are either listening or watching, thank you to Ryan is the Bomb 203. Ryan is here with us in chat. Check out Ryan is the Bomb 203 on YouTube. Ryan, feel free to share your YouTube channel in the Twitch chat. And also a special thanks to Hate13. I don't think Hate is on YouTube or anything, but if you have something you want to share, Hate13, feel free to do it. Thank you for the sub, Striker X23. But yes, Ryan is the Bomb 203 did that beautiful Noctis music for us. Hate13 re-recorded our intro narration. And of course, Dreamy Akai from the Tonberry Troop did our little video for the LDBT era. So thank you all of you beautiful creative people who decide to help out. Again, yes, I see some questions about Mino. Mino is still part of our community. He's just not coming, on every week. So what Hate13 did is he recorded names. He actually did a full audio for every single person we've ever had co-host. So I can change it week by week if I need to. So you don't feel like, oh, we're going about. So yeah, Mino will be back. But he is taking a little bit of a relaxing vacation from Defo, but he's still in the community, and you can still bug him on Discord, and he will be back, I'm sure, at some point here in the near future. But I am joined by my two co-hosts today, as you heard their names in the introduction. First, you know her and love her. Her name is Erolai. Ero, how are you doing?
Doing all right. Been training to be a census worker, so I'm a little tired from that because I've been driving all day, and then I trained some more when I got home. But I'll be all right. I'm excited to get started with working, hopefully early next week.
Yeah, so Arrow's doing her civic duty. We appreciate that. And speaking of civics, I'm also joined. I don't know. No, really, that wasn't. I don't know. That didn't really make any sense. But I'm also joined by my good friend and yours, Keiss. Keiss, how are you doing?
I am very tired. Very, very tired. It's been a long day.
Keiss is trying to civilly deal with students at the university, which can be quite a challenge these days, as is. So keep certainly in your thoughts and prayers all of our teachers.
Miscommunication is the thing. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, that was Jake. That was not one of my better segues. Sometimes I have real good ones. That was not great. Hey, well, there's some news.
All of you students out there, here's a word of advice. Make sure you actually read your faculty, the emails that come from your instructors, and you actually are sure what you understand what they say, because you don't want to find out that 3 weeks later you might not have read them as carefully as you thought you did, and find out you didn't know what was going on in the course.
Yeah, read your emails, kids. I think that's all the way to the end. All right. Hey, we have... Oh, well, let's talk about, as we talk about the news of the day, there's all kinds of bug fixes. I'm not going to go through what they all are because there seems to be 1,000 of them. But we did introduce last week the TCC challenge for the Machina Lost Chapter, Keeper of Fear, which we banned Synergy and a whole bunch of other characters. Of course, no burst mode was allowed as well. And then we had a TCC challenge X-TREME. This was a little fun X-TREME. We banned just the main cast, the Synergy characters, no BT mode, no friend, and you had to use Chocobo or Spirit Moogle summon, and the condition was, this is not a drill. Spin to win. Everyone in your team must spin around in one or more of their attacks or skills. Explain your choices in the description. Resfoina, thank you for the subscription. How you doing, Res? Check out Resfoina on YouTube and on Twitch, one of our fellow content creators, and sometimes co-hosts and sometimes post-show lurker and chatter as well. So yeah, so it was kind of a silly challenge, but we had a few winners. So there are the winners up on the screen for the TCC Challenge and TCC Challenge Extreme. Ink Welder, how are you doing? And thank you for the subscribe. Check out the Tomberry Troop. We'll probably mention the Tomberry Troop again, but Ink Welder, the Tomberry Queen, you know him and love him, but make sure you check out Ink Welder. So yeah, congratulations to everyone who did the TCC Challenge and TCC Challenge Extreme. I will have shared this, if you're listening to the podcast, on our Facebook and Twitter and also our Discord, so you can check out who is the winners and go watch them spin. How do you like that segue? Now, that wasn't really a segue, it was just a comment, but I think it worked. So we had a SQEX bridge maintenance during Labor Day, during the day that I had off, to have a few hours to do summon board grinding. I was getting everything ready, and I was sitting down. It was just me and my daughter at home, and I'm like, oh, good. I have everything's done. I'm ready to go. I have a few hours. I can just grind these boards and get them done. Maintenance, because I didn't read my emails. That's the lesson we said earlier. So yeah, that was super annoying. But thankfully, as we'll talk a little bit later, I didn't need that 4 hours to do summon boards. But that was SQEX bridge maintenance. Of course, it was in the middle of the night in Japan. It just so happened to be on a national holiday here in the United States. Happy Labor Day to everybody. We also have some costumes. So get some
Lots
costumes.
of costumes.
Buy your costumes. If you like Gabranth without a helmet, I think you can still get him tonight as we're doing this. Beyond
Is
that,
it still around?
I just saw a tweet on it, so I assumed that was, or did it come back in Japan? I don't know. Anyway, I know Noctis costume, the King's Garb, you can get that. You can get Paladin Cecil's kind of nicer looking costume. That's nice. And Fran's also costume to Fran's cosplay. I'm not really sure what we call that costume or what it's based on or what it even is. If you want Fran to wear less clothes, thanks, Eons. Appreciate it. Eonis, the Winged, for that subscription. Appreciate that, Eons. Yeah, so all those costumes are available. They are all reruns, so not new ones. But we did have a little conversation in our Discord about the Noctis costume. That is the costume he wears at the end of the game after he comes back.
King's Regalia,
So,
I think it's called.
Yep. So they all have their King's Regalia costumes, all four of the guys. And then if you beat the game, you can then wear that. That's one of the costumes they can wear all the time. It's a real snappy looking costume. And from Chaos or from from Co-ops, I can tell you that a lot of people have bought that Noctis costume. But my question for SQEX Joshua is Cup Noodles costume when? Cup Noodles. I would drop $40 tomorrow for Cup Noodles. Cup Noodles Noctis, Cup Noodles Iggy, Cup Noodles Gladio. Cup Noodles Prompto. Hey, I'd even get Prompto's EX for Cup Noodles Prompto. But I think it was just Noctis, Cup Noodles Noctis. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Cup Noodles Noctis. There you go. You're welcome. Well, I think that's all the news of the day. Was there any, Keiss, was there any particular maintenance or bugs, fixes that you wanted to bring up?
No, there's just been a lot of updates and such that have been spammed out at us for the last several days. There was maintenance last night that fixed a lot of text and abilities, I think. Nothing worth mentioning specifically.
Thank you, Arrow, for the bits. And Resfoina is trying to figure out what the heck a memory lane pasta or a Papa Bird and Baby Bowl is. Just their delicacies in Insomnia. That's all you need to know, right? Delicious.
I think there are actually some recipes online for those things if you search them.
I'm sure there is now. Yeah. Yes, they are in-game foods. That is correct. Ryan is the bomb 203.
They
those
are.
are actual foods from the game. Yes. Oh, you can get them. Resfoina says you can get them from the Final Fantasy Cafe in Japan. I have heard tales of the Final Fantasy Cafe. Yes. All right. Hey, well, we didn't come here to talk about cooking. That's kind of post-show conversation. So let's talk about Ultimate Odin, which brought us our fourth LDBT protagonist, and that is Noctis. He got a rework. He got a limited weapon and a burst weapon. So, Keiss, can you walk us through what Noctis looks like post LDBT rework?
Sure. I'm just gonna go through what's changed for Noctis. Afterwards, I'm sure we're gonna have to sit down and actually talk about his kit, because I get the feeling there's a bunch of people who forgot how Noctis works, but we'll talk about that at the end. Sound good? Good.
Sounds great.
So,
Amazing.
what's changed for Noctis? Shooting Star got brave hits and HP splash damage, and more overflow, but that's just a given at this point. Also, it gives Armiger stacks from plus version. Warp Strike got more brave hits and overflow, which is a given. Let's see. So that's it for that. Basically, just more brave hits, more overflow, and you get Armiger from both Shooting Star and Warp Strike, and now Shooting Star does HP splash damage. So that's it for the base kit changes. Just nice stuff all around. The LD is a nice little boost to his kit, however. What it is the ability itself. He gets 3 uses of it, is an AoE Brave followed by AoE HP attack that does full damage to all targets. It also moves Noctis's next turn to right before the target. It will do 3 additional buffs. First, it will give Noctis 3 Armiger stacks, which if you use this at the beginning of combat, will immediately bring him up to 5 Armiger stacks, which will max him out, because he starts with 2 if you have his EX weapon realized. He gets a new buff called Bonds of Amity. Bonds of Amity basically gives him an int brave buff and brave regen, so he's getting brave every turn. And it gives the party a new buff called Warp Step for 2 turns. Warp Step is a small attack boost, gives the party a free turn when their turn comes up, and it gives the ability, basically their turn acts like Noctis's turns, where their action moves to right before the target's next turn if their next turn would not be sooner than the character's next or the enemy's next turn. So while they have Warp Step active, their actions act like Noctis's plus ability actions. That makes sense for everyone?
That makes perfect sense to me, Keiss. Thank you.
And their free turns. And that includes Noctis himself. His non-plus versions and his EX also work like this. So basically, after Noctis uses his LD, you get 6 free actions across the whole party, which is pretty strong. This also means you need to be careful on how you time this. You don't want to waste these free actions on, for example, additional abilities or abilities that would already be free actions if you're trying to maximize, free turns, things that would be free turns already, if possible, if you're trying to maximize turn usage where possible. And the final thing we need to mention is Noctis's burst ability. His burst ability is a single target massive attack. It will do, I think, if it maxes out full damage, it does what is it? Almost 300,000 HP damage, Mark, right?
For which one?
His burst ability, Legacy of the Luci.
Oh yeah, it caps at 299,997. Yeah, so 300,000.
Okay, so it does right under 300,000 HP damage.
Yep, just like
and it
Bond.
activates a 3-turn burst effect, where whenever any party member does an attack, Noctis will follow up that attack with a 3 brave plus HP attack, and after that, Noctis will gain brave based on 20% of the HP damage dealt. So Noctis has a pretty loaded LD ability that does pretty good Brave damage, basically turns his whole party into mini Noctises for a couple of actions, and he gets a pretty loaded burst effect where he's basically unloading a lot of single target damage for several turns into a target. If you can, especially if you pair him with very fast characters who can really exploit this burst effect. So if you pair him with someone like Alice, who's taking a lot of turns for every one of Noctis's, you can really take advantage of this. So that's where you are with Noctis. The nuances apply. Noctis is a pretty high skill, has a high skill ceiling and a high skill floor to him. You need to make sure you know where he is, if he's on his plus versions of his base abilities or if he's on his base versions of his abilities, because his plus versions will shift his next action to before his target, as long as they wouldn't be earlier than that. Oh yeah, and remember, I'm not mentioning this because it's a nuanced thing for Noctis, but all of his abilities do have an additional brave hit while Armiger's active. That's true for everything Noctis does.
Yep.
That includes the burst effect. So it is a 4 brave plus HP attack with the burst effect if Armiger's active, which it always should be. Notable things that I didn't mention but are in his kit still. He does get free ability uses after his EX use. His additional ability converts both of his skill 1 and skill 2 into their plus forms if they're not already in their plus form. So if you're trying to optimize plus ability uses, you want to make sure you're timing that correctly. You want to make sure you're timing your launches correctly from Shooting Star Plus, and you need to make sure where Noctis is positioned compared to his allies. You need to time when you want to use his skills. Remember that his HP plus is still a very strong skill, so it's a nice filler because he does follow that up when he's at Armiger 5 with an additional one, with an additional follow-up attack. His plus abilities are much stronger than his base abilities because he does the follow-up attacks. He does a follow-up attack from his LD. I forgot to mention that. Again, Noctis is a very high skill floor and skill ceiling character because of all of these nuances that I'm not even touching on all of them. And they're important to remember with Noctis, but I think I've said enough. He's a very strong character, but he's also very nuanced to play. He's no Vaughn or Shantota where you just push buttons and you win. He also does need his point blank warp debuff to function. Luckily, he has a lot more ways to keep it active because base skill 1, base skill 2, and LD all apply it now. And also his EX applies it as long as his EX is realized, which it should be. So
it should be.
Yeah. So as compared to earlier variations of Noctis, he's much more likely to keep his point blank warp debuff active now, unless you're facing a really, really, really fast boss or the boss likes to cleanse debuffs. Okay, I think that's all of the nuance. Oh wait, no, his LD does not apply it. I'm sorry. For some reason I thought his LD applied point blank warp, and I am mistaken. I'm sorry.
No, but he does start the wave with it automatically, which is a nice.
Yeah, he does apply it at
update.
the beginning of every wave. As I said, Noctis is a very complicated character, and I'm still messing up stuff. So I'm gonna pass this off to Arrow for her to give her thoughts, and then we'll come back at the end to fill in things I might have missed.
So Noctis to me is one of those characters where you have to always be planning at least 2 turns ahead. And I was joking in the pre-show that that's funny that he gives his LD buff to his party mates for 2 turns. So now it's like there's even more plan for 2 turns things you have to consider with your characters, because you do want to make the most of the buff and warp step. I don't know. I want to say I like Noctis, but a part of me is like, if you don't get his BT, you get his LD, and yeah, he'll be good for the challenge quest. But I don't know how much you would use him afterwards. I feel like Noctis has always been like a little bit of a weapon hog. You don't get all his weapons. Well, don't expect to play him for too darn long. I mean, you can have some fun with them, but all his power is always like you have to get every weapon. Like there's just no getting around it. And I guess that's only fitting for a guy who calls himself king. So I don't know. Part of me finds his skill ceiling kind of obnoxious, but it is very rewarding. You learn how to play Noctis, you learn how to play him well, he will reward you very, very nicely for that. This doesn't always apply to every character like this. They just wind up being good or mediocre even. We've seen that before. But Noctis will reward you. And that is very nice. But on the other hand, I'm like, if you don't get all those weapons and you really want a new damage dealer, I'd be going back and eyeing that Machina banner because he's a lot easier to play.
Yeah. And I just screwed up my 0-turn run because of Zaz's I'm playing on stream here because of Zaz's speed, but I'll fix that here in a second. Yeah, Noctis is super good. I think Final Asum said the idea behind his special LD buff that he gives to not only himself but the entire party. So he gives himself 2 turns and he gives each party member 2 turns of the 0 turn count action and then push your turn in front of the enemy. So basically what Noctis's plus abilities used to do, everyone gets that. So it's really, I think Final Asum said he's making them part of the Kingsglaive, right? And that's Bond of Unity or what Amity or whatever it's called. So it's a really cool effect. His burst effect, which is shows up for 4 turns, not 3 turns. I think you said 3 turns, and I think it says 3 turns on the Tonberry Troop. Check out tonberrytroop.com, that beautiful infographic. Dreamy, Teleudes, Bane Novus, and Inkwelder work on beautiful, beautiful infographics in the LDBT era. They've always been beautiful, but this is nice. But I think it says 3 too, but I believe it is 4 turns. Now,
I'm pretty sure it's only 3, but I might be mistaken.
Well,
I've seen a lot of Noctises using it in co-op, and
yeah.
I could have sworn I only see it for 3 turns once they finish their burst.
Well, I just had it twice here in turn, and it had a 4 on it, so I'm pretty sure it's 4.
I must be mistaken
unless mine is different. But anyway,
you must be special, Mark.
Yeah, well, I am a content creator, so I do get the special content creator VIP perks, including burst effects lasting longer. So I didn't know if you all know that. But yeah, so for me, Noctis is, I think, kind of the power creep of the LDBT characters. I'm not going to talk about all the all LD characters, but of the 4 LDBT characters, and as of right now, I have all of them. I have all 4. I have Squall, Shantoto, Vaughn, and Noctis LDBT. His is the most stacked in terms of what it's doing damage-wise. His BT effect is the most stacked. Being able to do a free follow-up attack after every single action that you and your party take for 3 or 4 turns. It gets up to 12 basically free attacks that he gets. Not only that, so 12 free attacks on top of a 6-turn, million plus damage burst cycle. That's a lot more damage than his previous 3 compatriots are giving with their burst effects. And it's only going to continue with, we were talking about on our Discord, Kuja's LDBT, which is crazy. And of course, Lightning LDBT, which is crazy. Arden's crazy for a different reason. We'll get to that here in a couple weeks. But you definitely see the kind of creep in terms of the power. And so it is a really good LDBT. But at the end of the day, he is a damage dealer, turn manipulator. So, if you don't like that, and his damage will fall off at some point. That's what happened to Noctis with his EX initially. That's what happened to Noctis with his EX realization. And that's what's going to happen here with his LDBT. I think he's really good, and I like him, and I am glad that I got him as cheaply as I did after the huge investment that I got. But yeah, I think he does. Evil Kong, I'll talk about that here in a little bit about what we've done in terms of boards. But yeah, so I I don't know what's not to like. I love turn manipulation. I think it's one of the more interesting things. And who doesn't like the possibility of a 0-turn win, which I probably won't get here in this run, but we'll see, because I'm gonna have to pop my summon to be able to do it. But yeah. So Keiss, any other thoughts? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Somebody asked turn. Once you get into the burst, what is the best turn order? I think first it depends on if you're trying to do a 0-turn run. If you're trying to do a 0-turn run, Noctis has to be your first character. You have to start with the burst and end with his LD, so that his burst, because in a normal burst rotation, none of your turns count except the burst attack counts as 1 turn. So if you pop his LD, he gives himself that 2. It's supposed to be 3 turns. Let me go through.
It is supposed to be 3 turns.
Let me go through the video again. Let me just restart this on air just so we can check this out. Because Zaz can't.
Should be able to extend.
Zaz can't extend burst effects. Zaz cannot extend the 2-turn LD effect either. Just FYI. So. Yes, we've all tried. He cannot do it, believe it. So if you're trying to go for the 0-turn, you have to start with Noctis, and then you have to end with the LD. If you're just doing the normal burst, I do think it matters because I think he will burn through his 2-turn buff if you pop the LD first. So I mean, your party members won't get the free turns. We'll still get the free turns, but if you pop the LD first in the burst, his 2 turns will run out, and then he will not get the 2 turns, including the burst and the next turn. So if you have 0 stacks of armature or 2 stacks, whatever you start with, my suggestion would be start with his EX ability that gives him 5 stacks. Then you get a free ability, so you can double Shooting Star, double Warp Strike. You can spam the HP plus because that gives you the follow-up attack. Of course, you can pop his AA before you go, and then get both of the plus versions and then do an HP attack and then do the LD. Or you can do his EX, use the free ability for the AA, and I encourage you to use your free ability after the EX as your AA. Especially if you're doing fast turns. There's no reason not to use the AA as much as possible. So you can do EX, AA, plus ability, LD. Or like I said, his HP plus is pretty good. So depending on how you have your team set up and if you have some brave regen, there's different. But in terms of whether to use skill 1 or skill 2 first, I think it depends on if you have break available. Or not. So, but definitely if you're starting early in the run, doing his EX plus so he gets the 5 stacks right away is really nice. So, but yeah, his HP plus is amazing. And I'm checking right now how many turns of his burst he gets just to confirm that. But no, I didn't do C50 in this particular run, but we will. I'm just trying to see how many burst tokens he gets. How many turns of his burst effect there is. Got a couple launches here. But yeah, if you're doing it for longevity, you don't want to burn through the AA. You don't want, if you're doing for longevity, you don't want to burn through the AA before you do the burst, because that's 1 less AA. You want to save those AAs towards the end of the fights to give Noctis some extra consecutive turns, and ideally to have 1 AA active so you can use that as your free turn to give yourself those plus abilities, because you're generally not going to have the same problem that Noctis used to have, which was reapplying his Warp Strike buff. Now that the enemy starts with it for 3 turns. 3 turns when you have Noctis on your team goes a long way in terms of the enemy. So, okay, so is it? I can't see it. How do I look? It is 3 turns.
I can see it vaguely on the screen. It does say 3.
It is 3 turns. So I think what I was seeing was his. That didn't do it. I was probably seeing his
Additional
AA.
ability.
Yeah, his AA is 4 turns. So thank you for clearing
Yep.
that up. So he has 3 turns of his BT effect. Yeah, so you're talking with 3 turns of the BT effect, probably 9 free attacks. So I mean it's amazing if they're doing 50,000 damage each time. Yeah, I mean it's really great. I love it. So there we go. Now that we figured out that mystery, Keiss, any follow up?
The last couple comments I have about Noctis is that he is a high skill floor character. He does require some finesse to plan out his actions and make sure you don't burn through his abilities too quickly. Make sure you're planning out when you're going to use his his LD uses to get those warp step uses, or those warp step buff turns, when you're going to get those launches activated, when you're going to use his additional abilities to set up the plus versions, what you want to use his free ability uses after EX on. Basically all of that stuff. When's the right time to go into full burst mode with Noctis, basically, with LDs. So he is a very strong character, but he is not going to be a push buttons and win character either. He's no Shantotto or Vaughn in that way. He isn't going to just give you big numbers because you got the burst, is what I would say. And I think that's a fair assessment. He will pay out if you take the time to learn his kit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's not. I think you can get. I mean, I've seen some people a little bit easier. I think you can get some money out of him in terms of investment, some use out of him without completely understanding his kit, because his buff works regardless of what you know about it or not, right? Like if you don't understand how it works, it still works. It doesn't require you to understand it to work, but you can really make better use of it if you understand that, okay, character A is going to move, before the boss. Character B is going to move before the boss. Now I have set up another launch. Now I need to reuse my AA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. Arrow, anything else about Noctis before we talk about Ultimate Odin Summon boarding?
Oh, yeah. I am still going to stand by it. You really want to use Noctis past his 2 weeks energy for a challenge quest. You might want to get that BT. If you are not willing to go all the way for that BT to use past his 2 weeks, I'd still go back and eye Machina pretty hard. That's a pretty good banner if you're missing Rem or Sid also. So I'm just going to say that. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, where I was leading to earlier in terms of he is kind of the first of the first 4 LDBT characters that I would say you don't need his BT, but it's a significant boost to him. So, if you have it, you're going to get a lot more use out of it. But, you have a character like Machina who's a great, consistent melee damage dealer who only has an LD. So, I mean, it's a little bit less of investment. And there's going to be other characters coming up in terms of, damage dealers who are good investment. So, certainly not encouraging anyone to chase a burst weapon, but Bosch is really good if you got Noctis's LD and you're looking for another weapon. Bosch is a really good tank now with his LD. And what's the other one at the end of 9? 9 is a character too that you might like.
He's more of an aggressive styled tank.
I don't.
The defensive side.
I don't have any idea what 9 does because I don't care about him at all. But yeah, he's a character. So, but yeah, so I mean, again, it might be certainly worth, if you like Noctis, to kind of spread some resources out over those 2 banners and see if you can get his LD BT. Of course, if he's a favorite and you really have the resources, then whatever. Do what you want. Play the game how you want to play it. What are you saving for? Nothing. Play the game. Enjoy it. But yeah, I think he really does benefit from his burst weapon more so than the other 3 that we've currently had. Although, hey, six free turns is 6 free turns, and certainly in challenge quests like these, yeah, that's the case. So, All right, can we talk about Ultimate Odin? So we do have a new summon board, and that is Odin Summon Board. Special boosted for this would be, of course, Noctis, Fran, Irvine, Fang, 7, and Paladin Cecil. Now, Fran, Irvine, Fang, and 7 got their character boards. Again, character boards are we're not going into big detail about them because they're pretty much damage increases, brave damage increases, potentially aura increases. They're good. If you want to use the characters, we have so many summon boards, especially if you have the Mog Pass. If you don't have the Mog Pass, you might want to be a little bit more careful about how you go about using character boards. But if you do have the Mog Pass, I don't think there's any reason to not character board all the characters that you're going to use in challenge quests, especially, or chaos.
Except for Fang.
Except for Fang, because why the hell would you even use Fang? But
Fang's still not a good character right now.
Garbage.
She was so early on, and even when she first got her realization, she wasn't very good.
Strategic Insomniac. Is it worth to go for Bosch if I plan on getting and mainly using Zach? Well,
I think we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we will talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, they're a little bit different in terms of what they do, and Bosch is going to be a lot better than Zach right now. Because Zach doesn't have an LD, I guess. Zach and Warrior of Light still are very useful as tanks because they do have character boards. So they're still useful. But Bosch kind of comes back with a vengeance and is going to be really, really nice, especially because Bosch takes care of AoE HP attacks. That's his thing. Whereas, Warrior of Light does his shields and Zach does more, personal attacks a little bit better. So they each have their own niche, and as they come back and we get new tanks like Gladio, he's going to come, talking about Noctis, they each kind of course, continue to go. But Zach's still very, very useful, especially in normal chaos. You're not going to be disappointed. I still like using Zach from time to time. So they all got character boards. Those are the 6 special boosted. Obviously, if you have Noctis, the summon board grind is an absolute joke. Probably even Noctis definitely is LD. You could probably get away with just a ZX Plus at this point if you have him fully boarded up. Now, our friend Jin Lee on YouTube does have kind of a going through each of the 6 characters and using them. You can kind of see. I know Inkwelder sometimes kind of goes through and sees what's the fastest. It's really no brain when it comes to Noctis. But yeah, Paladin, Cecil, Fran, Irvine, well, maybe not Fang, but even Fang probably in the summon board grind can get you through and carry you through. The nice thing about Noctis at this point, if you have Noctis's LD, and definitely if you have Noctis's burst, he can carry 2 complete trash level 1 characters through that summon board. So it is so much easier of a grind. Somebody asked what our grind was. I think I spent less than 10, 15-minute books. I was able to master 75 boards. I was able to get more than treasures for the rest of them, 2,300 points because of the Mog Pass and my rank, because we got all that quality of life, right? And I forgot to use my wild points, and I have max 100,000 wild points, 999. So I forgot to use them. So I have my wild points fully maxed out, 75 masteries, and the rest treasured. And I like I said, I think it took less than 10 triple 15-minute books. But yes, I do have the Moogle Pass, and I would encourage you, if you have the resources to get that Moogle Pass. It's, $5 worth. If it's worth your time, it's worth your time because it didn't take very long. But if you have a lot of free time and you're not worried about it, then even I think it's not a huge summon grind. But again, I have Noctis, so I was using it. Final Asim says clicking the boards and treasure passives took more time than the actual farm itself. And yeah, I've not even done all of my actual boards. I've not unlocked them all. I've just done a few of the characters that I've used, and I've not gotten all of my treasures. So yeah, because it does take. It's like artifact grinding too, right? It takes about 3 co-ops to fully max out your artifacts, but not that much. Now, if you want to be more strategic about, so if you look at my screen right now, so Warrior of Light has almost 8,000 summon board points. He doesn't need 8,000 points for Odin, right? You need, 6,800 points, something like that. Again, Tomberry Troop has a beautiful infographic for this. They do that for all of them. Encourage you to look at that. But I was going to see if we have the actual, 6,500 points. So that's more points than I needed. So I could have just done 2 times and used wild points. But, it's so quick to do 3 times with your characters that you're going to master, and then just 1 time with characters that you're going to treasure, because they only need 1,900 points. And for characters that you're going to, if you have the Mog Pass and you're fully ranked, and are using a 3 times book, you get 2,664 points for 1 run. So 3 runs was 79.92. This, again, triple book, full rank, Mog Pass. 1 run was 23. So again, super easy. I don't know if anybody didn't have Noctis, and if they found like, oh yeah, I used Fran, she was good. I could see Paladin Cecil being able to handle it, not problematically. Irvine actually does pretty good. I think Fran does pretty good. So
Mark, I want to interject here.
Please.
I always go through all the characters before, like, in terms of what's deemed the worst to the best according to the Tomberry Troop ranking. And for me, if you aren't using Noctis, that's cool. I think the second best might be 7.
Oh yeah,
she's so fast, and she's turnstiles. Like, you can just sit there and spam skill 1 and then finish off with a skill 2 for the end of the fight. And I don't know, that went really fast. I didn't even notice I had maxed her points by the time I'd done it. And it was just, it was crazy. So I'm going to go and rate her as number 2. I think Paladin Cecil and Fang are actually about equal when I did it. And I don't know how, but Fang's really fast. She gets a lot of turns herself. That's kind of what makes it work. And and then Paladin Cecil. And I felt like the other 3 were kind of slower, or the other 2, Fang, or not Fang, but Fran and Irvine were kind of slower to me, even though I have a purple Fran. So, but her animations are just so darn slow. It just made it feel like a drag.
Keiss, did you have any comments just on board in general? And did you have access to kind of talk about which passives are ideal? Because this is a little bit different in terms of passive preference than some of our other boards.
The passives are a little trickier for this one. Basically, the passives are trickier for this. Basically, Mighty Attack Up is, or it's, what's number 3 called? It's like Mighty something.
I'll tell you right now what it's called.
Because the Tomberry Troop called it Physical Power Up, but that's not what the actual translation ended up being. So it's like Mighty Power.
It is Mighty Physical Up.
Mighty Physical Up.
Physical Up increases brave
Mighty
damage
Physical
dealt by
Up
10%.
is the number 1 priority you want if your character is either melee, ranged, or a mix of the 2.
Yep.
That is their number 1 choice. Because it just is a pretty substantial boost to brave damage dealt. Beyond that, it's kind of a toss-up. Number 6, which is the one that increases brave damage dealt when enemies aren't targeting you, is pretty good as long as your character's not a tank. It's a little more conditional, but it's still decent. 5 and 6, attack up, or 4 and 5, attack up versus initial attack up. Those are conditional as long as your HP's above 60%. Depends on how much that character benefits from int brave versus just pure attack. The brave rejuvenate from 7, brave gain increases. It's not a huge boost. Physical resist up, the 1 is good for tanks. I've picked that up on a couple of characters, just because why not? It's a nice little chunky thing to give them, along with, especially because the 6 passive isn't that good, and especially for like mage tanks, what else are you going to pick in some cases? So it's really a look at what the character wants or needs and kind of choose stuff. There's
Yeah.
no great answers that are just perfect for everyone, is what I found.
Yeah, the passive number 7, which is the Brave Gain passive, as Black Cloud Strife Black Nero on YouTube, is saying counteracts the Brave Gain reduction in the slightly distant future. So in the future, there's going to be Brave Gain reduction. That's why if you look at the Tonberry Troops Odin infographic, tonberrytroop.com, you will see they recommend passive 7 for every single character. Obviously, your magic damage dealers or magic characters don't need physical attack up, and characters that have lock don't need the sneak attack boost. So
gotcha. I didn't
much,
realize that they were recommending 7 for everyone.
7 for everybody, and then based on whether your character's a tank or character's magic or melee, that's pretty much how you do it. But they have it all listed up. If you want me just to read it real quick. Physical attack tanks that have lock debuff, 3, 4, 7. Magic attack tanks, which would be or characters like Charlotta, X-Death, who don't have attacks, but Brave Gain, etc., true damage, 4, 5, 7. Physical attackers without the lock debuff, 3, 6, 7, and magic attackers without a lock debuff, 4, 6, 7. So again, you can go to tomberrytroop.com and figure all that out for yourself. But yeah, a little bit more complicated than our 3, 4, 7 or 4, 5, 7, which it was kind of 4, 5, 6 for a while. There's a few more deviations as opposed to just like elemental characters. All right, hey, well, let's look at the again. This is by far, with all the quality of life updates we've gotten, this is by far the easiest of the summon board grinds. If you've fallen behind on some of your summon boards and you do have Noctis LD BT or just Noctis LD, or even Noctis 35, I'm going to get to podcast polls here in a second, but this is definitely a good time to catch up on the next summon board, Bahamut. If you're looking to go towards Kuja's LD, we were talking on this Black Cloud and maybe J.A. We're talking our Quets, Black Cloud and Quets from MateriaBot. Support MateriaBot. We're going to get to the podcast poll here in a second from MateriaBot. They said Kuja's LD does tons and tons of damage, so Kuja is also a good one to go back and kind of catch up on boards if you're looking to catch up on boards. So if you have a whole bunch of boards to go through and some free time, Noctis LD, that's going to be an easy time for you. If you're looking to get Kuja's LD, it's going to be an easy time to go back and get those boards. And if you waited on those boards and you haven't done any boards and you have all those treasures, all those tickets, all those gems, especially if you're willing to spend $5 or wherever it is in your country, if it's reasonable, for a Mog Pass, a Moogle Pass, so much easier. This is the easiest board grind we've had today with all the quality of life updates. So, so let's look at the podcast polls. Of course, every week we have on our Discord podcast polls. I have to find it. And thanks to Quets from MateriaBot, again, support MateriaBot, it is on multiple servers. So we have our global podcast polls on 14 servers now. So if you have your own default server, feel free to add this to it and reach out to Quets. He can help you with that. And make sure you have MateriaBot on your server. It's a great server. So there were 2 banners. The first banner, let me shoot back to gameplay here. The first banner was Noctis, Paladin, Cecil, and Fang. Not a bad banner, especially if you're missing Noctis. On this banner, let me just update it here. On this banner, there were 28 going to chase the burst weapon on this banner. Whew, that's a lot of people like Noctis. And obviously, he's the most recent protagonist.
Just wait until you get to the next poll.
25 chasing the, because I think that's the better one. 25 chasing the LD, 23 gems, 40 tickets, and 128 skipping. That was on 15 servers. Excuse me. And then, yes, on the next one, 75 looking to pity the burst. So 75 and was how many? 25? So over 100 people claiming they were willing to pity this burst weapon. I hope you all didn't have to do that, but from what I've seen, quite a few people did have to pity this burst weapon. I don't know. I mean, hey, I understand you want to get him, you want to play with him. I did the same thing for Squall, so I'm not talking down to anybody. But if you're a little more tight on your resources, again, it's not a bad idea to spread it out. But hey, if you really want it, you got to invest in it there, because you can spend 150,000 gems on 2 banners and not get the burst weapon. So don't let anybody shame you for spending. That's Finalism says that's 10 million gems. That's a lot of gems. I don't think we probably all spent that, but yeah, don't let anybody shame you or talk down to you if you're spending 125,000 gems on a burst weapon you want. Play the game how you want to play it, as long as you're having fun and enjoying yourself. And if it's your favorite character, go all out, right? Get it if you want it and enjoy it. If you're just pulling, certainly don't be pitying a burst weapon because you feel like you have to, or you have to keep up, or buying into hype, that kind of stuff. But if it's a favorite character and you really want it, yeah, don't let anybody talk down to you about how you spend your resources. So yeah, 75 pitying the burst, 66 pitying the LD, 57 gems, 61 tickets, 52 skipping. So yeah, so between it, that's over 100 pitying the burst, almost 100 pitying the LD, 75 for gems, about 100 for tickets, and 200 skipping. So thank you all. And again, check out the podcast polls always and keep up to date on that. And again, that's Quetzalma from MateriaBot. Awesome. We love him. He's a great guy. He's asleep right now, but encourage you that. So yeah. So be willing to do what you want to do, and enjoy the game how you want to enjoy it. So let's talk, speaking of enjoying the game, let's talk about the chaos fight. Of course, we always have a chaos fight with these ultimate boards, and you have to fight the summon monster. This time it is Ultimate Odin. Now, if you're looking for some strategies, perhaps you might say a boss guide for Ultimate Odin, look no further than DecidiaInfo.com. Our friend Macno has beautiful boss guides for all of that. And thank you, Arrow, for the MateriaBot Patreon there. Support MateriaBot on Patreon. That's patreon.com/MateriaBot. But DecidiaInfo.com has the wonderful boss guides and, of course, the call to arms. So you fight Odin. He is super resistant to magic, so don't bring magic dealers unless you want to bring a lot of enchant and peril, but he is weak to holy damage. He's also immune to delays, except from breaks, although there will be a caveat to that. So leave your delayers at home. Now, he's not immune to delete, is he, or is he?
No, he is not immune.
Yeah, so he is not immune to Amidatilion's delete ability, but when it comes to Kistis, when it comes to Garland, the characters with turn delay, he is immune to that. But initially, you can break him and delay him 1 turn. The big thing is his Zanakutsun. I never can say that right.
Zanetsuken.
Zanetsuken. His big attack, you know the one. He's always using it in all those Final Fantasy games, whether he's on your team or not. That big regen attack or recast ability, it's real horrible. If he breaks you, you get down to 0 HP and die immediately. Yes, so his blinking red all ability, the recast ability, Zanetsuken. If he breaks you, you go down to 0 HP and die. If he breaks your entire team, it is a total party kill. So if you bulk up and he doesn't break you, he follows up with a 3-turn personal buff that makes him have more attack, more crit rate, and guarantees a hit, so he can break you, which is super fun. Now, the second time he uses his recast ability, he gets mounted utility. So this isn't the first time, but the second time. You don't pronounce the U. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You do not pronounce the U? Okay.
That's what we're hearing.
So that make it like
Zantetskin. I don't know.
Zantetskin.
I don't know.
Okay,
I
I
don't speak Japanese.
apologize. I was doing a better job than Mark.
Yeah, that's
Santetskin.
not saying much, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so after his second recast ability, he gets Mounted Utility, which counters any Brave or HP attack with Counter Vertical Slice, which delays you 1 turn. Now that ends when Odin is knocked back by a launch, or a launch mechanic. And you'll see Odin is weakened, and then he gets a 1-turn defense down. So after he does his recast after the first time, you definitely want to launch. So you need to bring a launch unit to this fight if you want to play it through. If you want to delete, etc., fine. It will be a little bit tough. He also has Gun Gear, which is his all attack. So if he sees with your all, it's not blinking, but it says all. That's Gun Gear. And that is reducing all of your characters to Brave 0, inflicts 2 turns of Doom. And of course, Doom is a debuff that when it expires, breaks your character. You can see kind of where this is going and gives your characters 3 turns defense down. So what can happen is he can break you, he can turn rate up, he can jump turns, and then he can AoE kill you. Or he can, you can hit a turn, you can try to Brave plus, but then Doom goes off, and then he can kill you. So basically, he can kill you. He can
Very
kill
easily.
you. He can kill you. He can kill you a lot, and then you die because he kills you. This is probably the most RNG nasty fight we've had in a while. Certainly the most difficult of the ultimate summons that we've had in a while. But you can get around it. So if you're going in the regular cast, if you have Noctis is obviously built for this, because what does Noctis do? Well, Noctis has launches, so you need a launch. Noctis and Keiss are still probably 2 of your best options for that. Noctis also,
who's great for this fight?
Who's good for this fight?
Leon.
Oh, well, yeah,
Leon,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that other strategy here. But yeah, Noctis then gets his turns before him and gives other characters turns to go before, so you can kind of kill him. You can do a chaos fight with a 0-turn win with Noctis. Noctis, Keiss, Zaz can do it. Noctis, Keiss, and a couple other people I think can do it as well. So you can go down the Call to Arms and check the chaos if you want to see those 0 turns. You have to. There's a little RNG in it, and you have to mess with speed passives a little bit, but it's doable. Or very low turn count. But yes, go ahead, Keiss. There are some other tactics that you can use to get around this horrible fight.
Yeah, the one that I use, and I think it's the same one Arrow used, is you just bring Leon. All of a sudden, all of Odin's attacks become Dark Element, and you absorb Dark Element, and then all of a sudden you only have to worry about the insta-breaks, but the insta-breaks don't matter because Santetskin can't kill you anymore. So you're good. You just have to Brave Shape him when he insta-breaks you, and you're good. You're good.
So easy. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know, man. I've tried other teams without Leon and have been very unsuccessful.
It's an awful fight without Leon.
I'm okay with anyone wanting to cheese this. Now, I don't know how true it is, but I think we were talking earlier today, and this is supposedly the last very awful hell challenge quest. The ones going forward should be a little more tolerable. I'm hoping that will be true. If you bring the right characters, you'll be fine. There's no this random RNG crap you got to deal with, and I'm okay with that because that's just, I don't get it. I don't get why they have to do this so much. Yeah. Just it frustrates me.
But I mean, there are when we're talking about the regular chaos fight, Keiss and Noctis do a great job. Leon does a great job. Warrior of Light can help you with this fight a lot. The shields can take out him. Amidatelion can work with this. Eald'narche can work for this. Arciella can work for this. I imagine Kefka can work for this. I mean, there's a lot of different
Fang,
characters.
Lightning, Arnea can all re-break, which can help delay him.
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of options with the regular chaos fight. Now, the challenge quest is a little bit different, of course, but there's a caveat to that. So the challenge quest, you have 6 options. You have Paladin, Cecil. Well, let's be honest. You don't have 6 options. You have 6 characters you can bring: Noctis, Paladin, Cecil, Irvine, Fran, 7, and Fang. Now, let me go to the call to arms real quick, and let me just double check here. Oh, hey, okay, no, I am going to be mistaken. There is one brave soul. One brave soul. Is it somebody we know? It is in fact somebody we know. CSDX. He did bring Fang. God bless you, sir. I was going to say Fang is not an option for this challenge quest, but I am wrong.
It's even a Fang EX +1, not even a fully realized Fang.
It is not even a fully realized Fang, and it is not a Noctis BT. That's got to be a revive, though. Yeah, that's a gem revive. But still, props to you. Even with the gem revive, props to you.
Seriously, mad respect.
So generally speaking, there is no challenge quest runs on the call to arms without Noctis LD or Noctis LDBT. So if you want to do this challenge quest, you need to have Noctis LD at least. Now you can do it without his BT, but you need to have his LD. If you have his LD, I think you're okay. I think ideally you want Noctis and Paladin Cecil, and either Fran, 7, or Irvine. So Noctis as your first, Paladin Cecil as your second, and then either Fran, Irvine, or 7 kind of as your debuffer. But there are some changes to that. Let me see if there's any. There's a couple.
One run that does not use Paladin Cecil along with Noctis.
Okay,
and it's a Noctis LDBT.
Yeah, so yeah, you for the most part you're probably gonna want Paladin, Cecil, and Noctis, at least LD. Obviously, if you have his BT, it's a lot easier, and it's a pain in the ass fight. I did it a couple times. I used Noctis. I have Noctis LDBT with Cecil and Irvine, all 3/3, all fully character board, all fully boarded, good artifacts, all spheres. I wasn't messing around. So I went through it twice. I used to try to see what was better, Leviathan. Now Leviathan gives the enemy speed down. Now you're not going to be taking HP attacks, so you're not going to get that bonus, but that speed down's real important. Or you can try to use Shiva to give you a bonus attack and speed up. The problem with Shiva is there can be turn jumping because of the speed up. So the speed down's probably a little bit more consistent. If you're trying to do it right, and that's not fair. If you're trying to do it without a gem revive, which I'll talk about in a second, you probably want to use Leviathan. Now, it's going to take you some resets, and it's going to take you some patience. You're going to have to eat at least 3, I think. Amino's arguing about the pronunciation. But you guys can do that in chat. Argue about how to pronounce this attack. You're probably going to have to eat at least 3 of the recasts, which means you're going to need to make sure you set up the launch occasionally so you can launch after the recast, and you're going to make sure you need to brave up before you take that hit. You have to be fully braved if you're going to eat that hit, and you need to be paying attention to the doom counter when you get hit with his all attack, because if the doom counter goes off before his turn, and he breaks you, charges his all attack, his recast, and kills you, your run's gone. Now, there is something you can do with this challenge quest. If Odin, let's say you got down to, he's red, and he gets down, he breaks somebody, he double breaks, and he goes into his recast, and he KOs the entire party. You can gem revive, because there is no, let me look here in the... Let me get it up on gameplay. In the challenge quest, events, challenge quest. Yeah, you can see my 25 run there. That was not my normal run. There's no HP, or excuse me, there's no requirement to not be KO'd. So the requirements for the challenge quest is use 3 boosted characters, clear with 110 turns. Of course, you have to get a score. The score is only 690,000, so it's a very low score. You see on my it's over 1 million, and that was with a KO, so not a problem. And not take less than 15,000 damage. So what you can do is, if you're getting to the end, or even maybe halfway, especially if you have Noctis's LDBT, let's say you get him down to half health, you take a full party wipe. Then you spend 100 gems. All of your characters get their gear again. You get another summon when you revive too. Does your summon recharge?
Yes. But
Yeah.
you have to charge it though.
Oh, you have to charge it. But you do get, so if you gem revive, you get your burst again. So you can re-burst with Noctis or re-LD with Noctis. You get all your abilities back. And because he didn't do any HP damage to you, your HP damage is still going to be 0. So you're not going to be taken off for the HP damage.
Mark, it sets your HP to 0, so that's somehow different than them doing damage to you. I think that's how it works, because I think it says something about that even in the description for the skill. So it's somehow that messes with HP. It doesn't count as actual HP damage. It's just you die. That's it.
Personally, I don't feel like that's a bug. I think it's a pretty big oversight if it's anything. And so it's a kind of RNG fight. So I certainly don't think anybody should feel bad if they use the gem revive to get the burst token. I made a comment on our Discord earlier today that, shame burst tokens spend the same as regular burst tokens, right? Try it a few times, but don't be spending, if you're spending hours and hours and hours and getting, just really frustrated, because that's how RNG works. Sometimes you can have a good run, or you can have, 20, 30, 40, 50 bad runs, and then not go real well. So but again, if you have Noctis LDBT, I don't think there's any reason you can't tackle this challenge quest. You can probably tackle it fairly easily if you have his LD and a couple of these other characters purpled or at least realized, because having 2 goes of Noctis's LD, or definitely having 2 goes of his burst, makes it very, very doable. So, I'll
probably be trying the trees strategy on the challenge quest when I finally get around to it.
So,
I have a purple Cecil, Paladin Cecil, and an LD Noctis, and I'll probably just bring my 0-3 Irvine as the third to fill out the slots.
You can go look at the call to arms again, Macnol's call to arms on DecidiaInfo.com, and you can see people who have 13. I think MZ Pro 2 had a 13 turn run. That was a gem revive run. So people with less than, you see mine's 25. People with less than really 30 turns are going to be gem revive runs, or 40 turns. I think maybe 44 is the lowest turn count without gem revive. I'm not 100% sure if that's a gem revive or not, but 60 or so turns, you can do it without gem revive if you have a Noctis BT, and a fully purple team. So, it's doable. It can be frustrating, so I wouldn't kill yourself, and don't feel bad about using that. Apparently there was a similar tactic used for, Abyss Perfectum. We are going to go back and talk about Abyss, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I definitely know, because I did try it before the show. The gem revive tactic does work, and so is a burst token worth 100 gems? Probably. All right.
Considering you're getting those 100 gems back from just completing the challenge quest.
Yeah, you get the 100 gems back.
Yeah, or even just a daily, you get 100 gems every day. I would pay 100 gems to BT or get a revive and get a BT token. That's worth it to me.
Yeah. Fires also had a non-gem revive run too. Thank you. All right. So Amino is saying, because we were talking, supposedly you need your entire party KO'd for that to work. So if you only lose like one character and then you lose another 2, we're not 100% sure if it works that way. So if somebody can tell us that? Like, so if, the first recast kills one of them and then the second recast kills two of them, does that
Everyone's
work?
saying you need them to wipe from Zenith's skin for it to work.
Yeah, so I definitely know if they all wipe simultaneously from one recast ability, it works. I don't know if it's split up over a couple, if that's how it is. So, hey, we do have a TCC challenge for this because you wanted it, and some of you folks even want to X-TREME, and so we are working. We don't have it right now, but we will get probably within the next day a TCC challenge X-TREME for this because
I don't know why you wanted for this.
I don't know why, but you wanted it, and so Ricky Shu is working. Our good friend Ricky, he is working on it. So the TCC challenge for Ultimate Odin
is the least restrictive one yet, and it still sucks.
It's still not going to be fun. So the TCC challenge for Ultimate Odin Chaos is banning Noctis. No burst mode, period. Eald'narche, what's that guy's name? What's that kid's name with the eye patch? Eald'narche, Amidatelion, Keiss, Leon, Warrior of Light, and Aphmau. Those are the 7 characters that are banned. I'll say them again. Noctis, Eald'narche, Amidatelion, Keiss, Leon, Warrior of Light, and Aphmau. Now, if you want to submit your TCC challenge runs, please go to... who am I mispronouncing, Hope Starter? I don't think I'm mispronouncing any one of those names. Please let me know which name I'm mispronouncing. I'll be happy to tell you that you're wrong. with these names, I don't think I am. with whatever Odin's attack was, I was way off. I'll give you that. But yes, go to decityinfo.com. But yeah. I actually said his name correctly instead of saying it incorrectly. I got you. I'm with you now. Yeah, so good luck, and we will tell you what the TCC Challenge X-TREME is. Don't look forward to. I can't imagine why you would look. Some of you are. I've been getting Facebook comments saying, "Where's the TCC Challenge X-TREME?" I don't know, folks. Why would you want an X-TREME run with this? God bless you. God bless you.
Have you completed the base TCC challenge already?
Do the base TCC challenge.
When we released this, there was only one run that counted.
Some call me Brian22 says, why are you on Facebook in the first place? We do have a Facebook page. It is at FFTCC Podcast, and it's also at FFTCC Podcast on Twitter. So, yeah, there you go. We don't have an Instagram or OnlyFans. Is that the site that I just learned about like 2 weeks ago? Somebody had to tell me what that was.
Did teach you about that?
No. Actually, Josepher made a joke about it, and I didn't know what that was. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, there's more stuff, and that is Dimensions and Entropy. I was in Abyss. Let me go to Dimensions and Entropy. We got a new, and it feels so good. For the first time in like 3 weeks, I am TCC OnlyFans when someday. Yeah, for the first time in several weeks, I am fully caught up, and that feels nice. I've been behind on content for quite some time. So there we go. Yeah, there is Dimensions and Entropy Tier 15. And you can go, our good friend Black Nero on YouTube, Black Cloud, if you're still on, you can hawk your goods there and go to share your YouTube video for that, or to your just general YouTube. Black Cloud has been upping his YouTube game, so make sure you check out beautifully edited all of his, like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications on our Facebook. We have our Facebook, our YouTube, Crystal Chronicles. We have a YouTube channel. But so does our friend Black Nero, Black Cloud Strife. And he has done walkthroughs for every single Dimensions End, and he's really, really got the editing down. He's even got timestamps for this one. Really nicely done. And, of course, our friends Tomberry Troop have a wonderful, and I think Vane does that. Vane and Tilly maybe do a lot of work on the Entropy walkthroughs. So this is a 2-wave fight. You fight first the Lunatic Fran medley. I think the entire fight is completely resistant to magic, or highly resistant to magic. And of course, the Fran medley is the one that changes color and spawns little tiny Frans over and over and over. Flans over and over. That would be fun if he spawned Frans, though. That'd be a good fight. Someday. And then, as if the lunatic Flan medley wasn't bad enough, we have the second wave, which is a lunatic Count Steam, which is, I think, everybody's favorite villain from the Deuce Lost Chapter or Deuce event, and a Spineclad. And remind me what the Spineclad is from. I just heard it several times because I know it's
Charlotta event.
Yes, thank you, Arrow. The Charlotta event. So nasty.
Steam is from Thancred.
Oh, Thancred. I thought Count Steam was from Deuce event.
Yeah, it's Deuce. You're thinking of the Sand Kraken for Thancred.
There's so many freaking Krakens.
Yeah. No, the top hat wearing steampunk. Those are from Deuce, because remember, Deuce originally, that event was just toxic. So bad. Of course, the Thancred event was bad.
Krakens.
Yeah, all the Krakens. But
I've purged the Deuce original event from my memory.
Yeah,
That's the reason
it was a horror show. It was one of the worst events. The Lena 1 and the Deuce events were real bad for us back in the day. So anyway, the Flans are a pain in the butt, and he keeps respawning them. So that just eats turns. And the steam count is still annoying, and so you want to kill it. If you kill the lizard thing, is it a lizard? It's a dragon. If you kill the dragon, the Spineclad first, I think the steam count rages and becomes super fast and then kills you.
No, the steam count's just fast to begin with.
It does enrage, though, if you kill its friend first, right, I believe?
Yes.
I don't think so, does it?
Yes. It does. If you kill Spineclad first, the Count Steam will rage. If you kill the Steam guy, the Steam Kraken first, then Spineclad will not enrage. And that's kind of how it worked, I think, when we had to fight two of them, too, and the Charlotta LC return. So, fun stuff. Yeah, some enemies enrage and some don't.
First, and the Count Steam did not enrage, but maybe I did kill the Count Steam first. I don't remember anymore. I did it last night, and I've already forgotten the fight.
Regardless, I would kill the Count Steam first, because it's a pain in the butt.
I did screenshot it in one of the channels, didn't I, last night?
I don't have any idea. I'll have to go back and look. Anyway, well, either way. As you can see by my turn count, I brought Noctis. I was going back and forth about, I don't need to bring Noctis yet, but I brought Noctis because he completely cheesed the fight. And made it dead real quick. I think, who did I bring? I brought Noctis, Keiss, and Zaz, because why not? They killed that real good. There are other characters that do real good. Gabranth with his brave reduction. What?
I
know why I didn't realize the Count Steam didn't enrage.
You brought Leon, didn't you?
Oh.
No, I brought Desh. I kept it paralyzed the whole time because of lucky paralyzed procs.
Oh, nice. But yes, Gabranth is a good option. Leon can take a lot of the attacks. He can't take all of them, but especially in the second wave, he can take the vast majority of the attacks. Machina is a great option here. Bosch is going to be a great option if you're struggling with this one. Bosch is going to help with all those AoE HP attacks. I believe Freya, Porum can cheese this fight, of course. Trey, there, Trey and Dash are really good options as well. So you see my team, Noctis, Keiss, and Zaz, and that was just my initial playthrough for 25 turns. Can probably do it a lot less than that. I don't know if I've seen a 0-turn one with this one. No, I don't. You can't do 0-turn with 2 waves. I don't think. Maybe you can. Anyway, Arrow, what did you use? You probably did something a lot more fun than I did.
Yes, I used Trey, Waka, and Desh, and I am not alone anymore on Waka. I have seen some others use him on this tier. He's kind of under. I think he's like low-key good here if you've character boarded him this month, from the challenge quest, and he's purpled, because the blinds are very, very useful, especially in wave 2. and he just brings decent battery, I guess. I was running out of battery characters. I was like, well, I got this Waka, and I don't feel like freeing anyone, so let's try it, and I went with that. It worked out pretty good. I didn't want to use Leon or Machina for this tier because I kind of want to save some of my really nice saviors in this sense for higher tiers coming up. I think they're supposed to start getting a little easier from this point onward, but I just like having nice things to make certain tiers that might give me problems a little less problematic.
Is Mino trolling about gem reviving?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Mino trolled me this morning because I was like, somebody told me last night or yesterday that, oh yeah, you can gem revive, you can gem revive the challenge quest. And I said, oh, well, that's going to be important to share on the podcast that I do every week, right? And so Minos came on this morning and said something like, just in our general chat, said, oh yeah, I heard on Reddit that the maintenance fixed the bug so you can't gem revive. And so I went and tested it, and he was definitely trolling me. So now he's trolling me again with Dimensions and Entropy. Well worth the 100 gems, though. No hard feelings there. But yeah, I don't believe you can gem revive that particular fight. Don't try. Oh, you can gem revive to complete it. You can't gem revive to test it. All right. Keiss, anything else about, again, Black Cloud Strife, Black Nero on YouTube. Excellent guide. Tomberry Troop, tomberrytroop.com. We also shared that on our Facebook and Twitter. But they have a wonderful, if you go to their website, a wonderful kind of breakdown of the fight and a whole bunch of sample teams, so you can help it. And they link right to Black Cloud's video too, right there on their website. So we all like to support each other in that regard. Keiss, any final thoughts on Dimensions and Entropy Tier 15?
I found Tier 15 to be easier to do than Tier 14 personally. I don't know if that's because of the teams I was trying to put together.
Go figure.
Number two, I've realized that I'm out of fully realized healers for Entropy Tier, so I have to start looking at my roster and either dip into my backlog going forward in tiers, or start looking forward into the planner and figure out if I'm going to be realizing future characters for future tiers and start considering that. So yeah, I got to start thinking about that, because I got to tell you, all of my characters that can heal going forward are locked in earlier tiers now. So I got to think about that.
Well, there are thankfully some tanks coming this month who are also able to either heal themselves or heal the party.
Oh, Bosch is locked already.
You can get 9 then. He can also heal your party.
I was planning to skip 9.
Just something to think about.
Yep.
Kind of the next 2 healer types you can pick up LDs for.
Yeah, Pure Sin is asking how low does Odin have to be to gem revive to win without the burst weapon? And Nibelung 16 is saying you need to burn everything you own, and he needs to be below 50%. Yeah, I would say definitely below 15%, but I would say safely in the red. If he's in the red, you should be fine with just the LD. If he is about 50% HP and you have his LDBT, I think you'll be okay. But yeah, if he's in the red, you should be okay. But you can probably do it if he's just around 50%, but it's not going to be 100%. And I'm not sure that 2 gem revives will do it with score, although the score requirement's pretty low. So, it's only 690,000. So it's possible. If your team gets wiped completely twice by the recast ability, I mean, it's possible. So I cannot confirm that. But yeah, I would not suggest multiple gem revives. I would suggest waiting until he's in the red and then doing it. So yeah, seeing if you can do it. Or pitying his burst weapon, then you don't have to worry. No, I'm joking. No. Not for one challenge quest. All right, hey, just back at Abyss Perfectum. Somebody said that this is apparently this final, which we talked about last week. This horrific, most difficult fight we've had yet in the game, not based on RNG. This level 190 Perfectum 3rd Stratum Part 7. Apparently, you can gem revive this too. I don't know that, but it does because it's only based on score. There's no There's no.
It's only based on score. So
Yeah.
if you're just bringing a bunch of launchers,
If you're
and
bringing
you're
launchers,
Noctis
yeah.
LD, who's giving you a bunch of free turns,
But-
theoretically you can shave a lot of score by shaving turns.
Yeah, and if I were to go and I were to personally go through this strategy, I would burn everything I have, hopefully before that, because that will save you additional turns, better guaranteeing you'll get the score, because it is 800,000, so it's a lot higher than, you know, the challenge quest, obviously, by a good 110,000.
5D PZ, you do what you feel good about. If you feel good about spending 100 gems, you spend 100 gems. If you have extra ingots to invest in Fran and Pecil and you hate yourself, then do the then play it without the gem revive. I'm going to tell you, it can take a little bit longer without it. But I know you have Noctis's burst weapon, so it's quite a bit easier with his burst weapon than with only his LD. But still, yeah, definitely easier if you gem revive. So what else is easier? So last week we talked about the Abyss Perfectum and we walked through this fight. If you have Noctis LD and Noctis LD BT, this fight so much easier. So I think my original team, I have it up on my screen now, but my original team was Shantoto, Ferris, and Aphmau. So that was Ferris was my dagger blue crystal, Shantoto was my black crystal, and Aphmau was my fast turn support character. And I think I beat it in 125 turns. I went back and did it with Noctis, Zidane, and Arciella, and I beat it in like 75 turns. So yeah, it's a lot easier with Noctis. So you get as much mileage out of Noctis as you can. So yeah, so if you were struggling with this and you got Noctis, go back and use Noctis. And there will be, you still have like 20 days from the time we're recording this to
just as a
do
reference point, you'll have Arden LDBT available. You'll have Renoa LD available before this goes away. The limited time rewards, the permanent stuff never goes away. Just the limited time rewards go away after Arden and Renoa arrive.
This is permanent content. But yeah, if you want to get those limited rewards, which was another EX token and some tickets, 10 tickets and 1 EX token.
Arden is yellow. So he won't help with the requirements, but he is a strong character.
Yeah, Arden is yellow, Renoa is green. Bosch is yellow. Bosch is yellow. So yeah, they don't help with the requirements, but they are just powerful characters that will, if you're planning to get them, that could help with that content. So, but yeah, if you got Noctis and you were struggling with this or struggling to get the score requirement, I know a lot of people were struggling to get the score requirement. Noctis definitely will help with the score requirement over Squall or Shantoto for your big damage dealer because he gets free turns and he gives other people free turns. Yeah, that's what he does. And he has launches, so he definitely helps with that. Arrow, anything else from Abyss that you want to talk about tonight?
If you didn't pull Noctis, that's still cool. The Leon strategy is still very strong and you can still make it work. So I don't know. There's still other strategies that have worked. So again, we still have the list pinned on our podcast Discord. So you can maybe formulate a team with or without Noctis or Leon and still win. That has happened as well.
Also, as a reminder, we now have Odin boards, so that is increased stats for all characters if you're willing to spend the time to grind them.
And some extra
so that
damage
will make
with
things
the
a little
passive.
easier even if you're maintaining the same strategy.
Yeah, always. All right, well, that's all the stuff. Is there any questions we can answer today, Keiss?
Yeah, there's a couple questions.
Perfect.
LaFarl asks, with Machina's LC added, this brings us up to a total of 60 lost chapter characters now in the game.
Wow.
For those of us who've played long enough, scrolling through this can feel like a trip down memory lane, but for new players, it can feel daunting or confusing. trying to look for their favorite character? Do the hosts think that the lost chapter should be presented in a different way in the future, and if so, how? I'll go first. I don't know if there's a great way to really fix this. I mean, maybe find a way to present the banners in smaller images to make it a more condensed list of banner images, a faster list to scroll through to find lost chapters within, because it is a very long list now. It's very hard to find a character in the middle, specifically if you're trying to find one that maybe you haven't completed yet. It's just a very overwhelming list. If you're caught up on everything, then you're fine. But if you're behind on completing lost chapters, it can be tough to find the one you're looking for. Arrow?
I think, well, one thing is if you're a newer player, all the easier lost chapters are going to be at the top. The further you go down the list, that's kind of like they're newer. They kind of go in order. So you can definitely see which ones are the easier ones. I think one thing they could do is have like a list somewhere of all available characters in the game and tell you if you have them or not. And if you don't have them, they say exactly where you can obtain them. That would kind of help too. So then you know what you can find. Oh, I want this character. I love this person. And at least even if you can't get their weapons, at least you have them in your roster and you can,
you can, just to be clear, you can sort, if you go to your lost chapter screen, you can sort by date, by series, by not cleared, and by character.
So, I didn't realize the sort options were even there.
Yeah, so there are sort options. It's up on my screen right now. By descending or ascending. You can do it by date, so which one came first. You can do it by series, so in series order. You can do it by what's cleared and what's not cleared, which is helpful probably. I think somebody said in that. And you can sort by character. I don't know what happens if you sort by character.
I would assume it just sorts by their name, like so.
It does. It does. It is alphabetical order. Very good, Arrow.
Oh boy.
So Ace, Aerith, Agrius, Alice. Yep, it is. There's a lot. Aphmau, Aphmau. Saying those back to back is a little harder than I thought it was. Ash, Orin. There's a lot of guys with A's. Anyway, yeah. So so you can sort. Now, somebody, maybe one of our JP players can help me with this. There is a quality of life update that we are going to get at some point where you can go straight to the hard mode of like regular events. I don't know if that is retroactive. So instead of having to do normal and then do hard, you can just opt to do hard mode. So if that's retroactive, that would make it a little easier play-wise. Okay, so yeah, they're saying it's on everything. So that will make it a little bit easier to go through and kind of not have to do all of the nodes twice. Although thankfully the lost chapters are not particularly long. But yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of resources, and of course the newer lost chapters give you ingots and books. So I think when the game's kind of down like now, we don't really have anything here for a few days. This is a good time to catch up on lost chapters and chapter events.
So Mark, I wish they would also separate them by one other thing. Is that, like when Fang starts, that's when the chaos stage versions of stuff happens. They should better separate that, I feel, in some way, so that you understand that when you go to the hard modes for these, they're much more difficult. Yeah, you can still get the characters, of course, because you'll go through the lost chapter. But I think it blindsides some newer players. I've seen that happen. Like they'll go to Fang, lost chapter, and they'll be like, why is this fight so hard? I have seen that so many times on main cord as a helper. I just wish there was a better way they could separate.
Yeah, they do have as Black Cloud now. Aeonis the Winged says, yeah, you can just do hard mode and then you get rewards for, and that should answer your question. The Emerald Bard, won't that half the amount of gems and gil you get from gathering playing on normal? No, you get the hard mode rewards and the easy mode rewards. But Black Cloud is saying that it doesn't say which ones have chaos or not, but you can, if you scroll down here, you can see which ones have ingots. Starting at, if you scroll down, it is Fran, isn't it? Yeah, or Fran. Oh, Fang. It's one of the F's. If you start with Fang from Final Fantasy 13.
That's my point. Like newer players don't know what all that means.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
So you'll see
I think
pages
it's
and nuggets.
Clearer,
Right. Oh yeah, it
clear
could be clear.
designation, I guess.
But yeah, that's the starting point though. If you're scrolling down and looking, if you're watching on our video, you'll see 2 pages and 2 ingots next to or nuggets next to Fran, and so that's the start of the chaos fights all the way until we get Lufania fights in Lost Chapters. So Frans of Promise, Frans or Flans and Frangs. Yeah, I really got with Fran's costume on the mind. I guess I got Fran's costume on the mind. Where is Fran's costume? Hey, is there another question?
Sure, there are. Mistleton asks, any thoughts on book parts from the most recent story chapter being locked to a time-limited event fight instead of a story fight as it was previously? And this kind of sucks for players who will not be active during the limited time event aspects of this. I was kind of surprised they did this. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing, but I understand why they did it. They put the Cosmos event and co-op as part of the limited time stuff because they put the Cosmos co-op stuff into the events category. I don't know. JP players in chat, can you tell us, is this a consistent thing going forward? Are the realization materials for books going to be attached to a Cosmos event outside the story chapter?
I don't know. That is a good question. So yeah, well, is there another question? If some of our JP players chime in, we'll update you on that.
Parsnippins, in honor of Vivi's EX Plus, what character in DFFO has had the worst career in the game? I think it's Vivi.
Yeah, it's Vivi. Vivi's the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty down there. I'm so sorry.
I mean, Fang's pretty bad too, but
I don't know, man. At
Zell.
least Fang had that chaos month.
Oh
she was
no,
one of the
we
few.
I mean, Fang has had a shorter career than Vivi, and Vivi's been bad for most of his very long career in the game.
Yeah, Zell. We got Zell through some things. Zell
was
Fang.
great with 35 CP here. I'm not going to diss too hard.
I think Zell was decent with his original EX.
Yeah, you're right.
And his EX realization. He got a bad rap with his EX realization.
Pure Sin asks, when do challenge quests get easier? Soon they do. I don't know.
Supposedly, this challenge quest that Odin won is the peak of
this was the most BS of the challenge fights.
so as long as you start bringing decent, the stuff going forward, like 9's challenge quest, you're going to have Bosch or 9 in your team. You kind of have to.
But
you'll probably be all right.
There's still challenge quests for a while. I mean, once we get to Lufania, then your new characters are going to be tougher. They're going to be much stronger, so they're going to be able to carry trash. Black Cloud says, yes, they should be, off the top of my head, referring to the rewards tied to things. So,
okay.
Ito, that's a great post-show question. All right, yeah, anything else?
Edo asks, are we getting to a point where it's almost impossible to complete certain quests without a BT? My answer is no.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think at least for the challenge quests, there were plenty of LD runs. Now, there's been, at least to this point for this challenge quest, no EX only runs. So it may be impossible to do LD-less runs, but not BT-less.
LDs are getting to the point where I think they're relevant.
And I'm not sure that you'll
challenge quests.
I'm not sure that you'll ever need a burst weapon to do a challenge quest. So they sure as heck make them a lot easier. Don't ever get me wrong about that. I was talking about it earlier. Noctis gives you 6 additional turns in his burst. He gives you potentially 9 follow-up attacks for free, and then 6 free turns on top of that from his extra use of his LD. So yeah, I mean, that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, Mithrin is saying the only thing that really needs BT is Dimensions End Transcendence. That is the next tier of Dimensions End, which was recently released in JP. And yes, quite a few of the, most of the initial runs needed Paladin Cecil's LDBT. No, you do need there is some BT conditions for that too, isn't there? Anyway, we'll get to that much later when we need to worry about it. That's not that's not for quite some time, several months in the future. Yeah.
One more question?
Sure, one more question.
Okay, Eons asks, there were talks around this time in the JP version of the game that for the current meta, all Noctis needed was that LDBT to become currently relevant, and that the rework pushed him over the top and made him immensely long-term relevant. But all he needed to slip back into the meta was the LDBT, and that the rework could have happened later. Do the hosts agree, disagree, and why? Well, his rework was actually pretty insubstantial. I mean, it gave him some extra brave hits, it gave him some extra overflow, and it gave him some extra splash damage on his skill 1. I think his LDBT were the big factors that really brought him up to power here and made him a powerhouse.
Yeah.
The brave hit increases, the brave overflow changes, those are things that were just the quality of life factors that made his skill 1 and skill 2 worth using. And free turns too.
Yeah.
Where did he get free turns?
Yeah, his plus abilities.
His plus abilities apparently. I don't know. I don't keep up with all
I
this.
missed that on his rework. Okay, I am dumb. I didn't realize his plus abilities became free turns on his rework. I'm sorry. That's a bigger factor than I missed what I was talking about that.
And on top of that, with the extra brave hit for his Armiger follow-up, I mean, that's just going to add a lot over time in a fight, especially, because he has that great longevity. You could just swing on that HP plus for a while too if you want to.
And the Armiger follow-up did get stronger. Yeah, the rework was more substantial than I let on when I discussed the rework, so I apologize. The rework was pretty substantial. I think if he had not gotten the rework, his LDBT alone would not have been as powerful as people would have liked. I don't know. It's a tough call because we have him as he is now, and there is no hypothetical universe where we were able to experiment with pre-rework Noctis with LDBT.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's much more powerful, but he's not. I mean, he's not powerful forever. I mean, his damage will fall off again. His potencies fall off. He's a damage dealer, and so. He's a damage dealer that has some free turns, yes, so he will survive a little bit longer than a lot of other damage dealers, but he's still a damage dealer, so he will get overshadowed by other damage dealers. But I don't think he's too strong. I mean, we're not talking like Aranea, like he's going to be dominating for 6 months or 8 months or a year, and you're not going to need to pull, well, if you don't care about challenge quests or Lufania, then yeah, maybe you don't need to pull again, because I'm pretty sure he can handle most chaoses for the next 6 months.
So one thing I want to point out too is the LD characters we've had before did not get a rework to go with them. The rework was literally in their LD. Noctis got both, and that kind of changes things. I think, and then we're getting a new character who will be the next BT character, and that's why he's probably as good as he is. So these other characters, they got fixes, it feels like, more than they did like upgrades. So I think that's like what the really big difference is and what really makes Noctis stand out.
Mino Spellgood on Twitch says, I've seen people do Abyss Perfectum with Noctis's full kit in 35 turns and people with his full kit who still can't do it. So, so he, even with all of that stuff, he is a little bit more complicated than some other characters. There's nothing complicated about Squall. There's nothing really complicated about Shantoto or even Vaughn. They're all pretty straightforward LDBTs. Even people are still commenting about, if you use his plus abilities when he has the 2 stacks of his LD buff, then you're wasting the plus abilities because he's already going to warp in front of the boss. And yeah, there's a lot of learning curve when it comes to Noctis to really go from a really good character to a amazing character right now. But again, his potencies aren't like unrealistic. So they will, he has his time, like he did before. Right? He was the king of the EX era for a while, and now he's the king of the LDBT era for a while. But you can't bring him to every challenge quest. You can only bring him to 3 challenge quests. You can only bring him to 1 tier of Dimension's End. You can only bring him to 1 strata of or 1 node of Perfectum. So, I'm not concerned about characters being too powerful at this point. People are. Yeah, Noctis isn't that complex. You just need to know the difference between normal and plus skills. You also have to read, as some call me Brian says. Yeah.
I still feel like Noctis is a character you have to kind of be thinking a little bit ahead every time.
And understanding turn order and understanding how fast your own characters are and jumping ahead and behind. He's not the most... I don't know. He's one of the more difficult characters to play that we have.
Definitely on a masterful level. He's got, but he'll reward you. So that's why I'm like, I still think he's worth it if he's your kind of guy.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. He's something else right now. That's for sure. But there's always characters who are going to be top of the line and everybody's going to be like, wow, that character just kind of like breezes through everything. But he is not alone in this right now. It's just how you want what you want, I guess, at the end of the day. So, we still have Amidatelion, we still have Keiss, we still have Eald'narche, and they still cheese content like nobody's business. So yes, you don't require this guy.
Our community manager, SQEX Joshua, reminds us to don't get trapped using Aphmau's puppet attacks with Warp Strike on her. Warp Step, the LD buff. Or don't go into your AA or all that kind of stuff. So thank you, SQEX Joshua, for all you guys do. SQEX Joshua and SQEX Glacy, of course, our community team that do our wonderful monthly things, which we'll talk about in a little bit. AA with Warp Step. That is massive brain move right there. Big brain.
Ouch.
Big brain. All right. Well, I think that's enough. We'll probably feel free to bring us any of your questions on our Discord. Join our Discord. Buy our merch. Hey, thank you all for joining us. Shout out. Of course, you can connect with us, tccpodcast.com. Join our Discord there, Facebook FFTCC Podcast, Twitter FFTCC Podcast, the Crystal Chronicles on Twitch, the Crystal Chronicles on YouTube. Go over to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe there. That doesn't cost you anything. We are now over 1,000 subs, so congratulations to us. And thank you. Hey, Resfoina, thank you for gifting SQEX Joshua a gift sub. We always like to keep him honest and keep him supported and support our community management team. Buy those costumes, buy those smog passes, everybody. Check out our friends, the Tomberry Troop, tomberrytroop.com. That's Inkwelder, Dreamy, Talute, and Vane Novus. Check out our friend Magno, DecidiaInfo.com for all your call to arms, boss guides, chocobo panel guides, etc., etc. Check out Quetzalma at MateriaBot. He has his patron MateriaBot on Patreon or just on your Discord, add MateriaBot there. Thank you to Keiss and Arrow, Mino Spellgood, our TCC crew. Arrow is Lily, Leilee on YouTube. Check out her content. Thanks to Inkwelder of the Tomberry Troop, Inkwelder on YouTube, J.A. J.A is with us. He's one of our mods. YouTube let us know, buddy. Get some YouTube action going on. I'm going to feel bad if you have a YouTube and I don't realize that. Jin Lee on YouTube, Mac Knoll and Quetz, of course, and Strafe on YouTube, our friends and mod team. Thank you to Dreamy, who did our intro video, Jin Lee, who does our backgrounds and emotes, and everyone's backgrounds and emotes, apparently. Hate13, who did our intro narration. Ryan is the Bomb 203, our intro music, and do check out Ryan's remix of the... Oh, J.A does have YouTube. Is it J.A on YouTube? I think I may have known that. Let us know. Share your YouTube in there, J.A, because he does runs too. He's a very good player. Thank you to our special friend Black Nero on YouTube, Black Crowd. Go and subscribe to him. Check him out. He's trying to break 1,000 too, or just did. So make sure he's been a lot of work on there. I'm not giving him a hard time. He's done a lot of work to really up his YouTube game. Thanks to Shara, our good friend, main cord and Reddit admin, and Ricky Shrew, who helps us torture you with TCC challenges. And of course, a special shout out to our friend Pierre, who started this podcast with me. And let me share a little Pierre update. He just bought a new Chevy Cruze, right? That's the little sporty electric car, right? The Cruze. Anyway, Pierre just bought a new car, so you can go congratulate Pierre on Discord or Facebook or Twitter. But thank you. This has been episode 118 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded on September 10th, 2020. We're going to stick around for the post show and see if some of our friends want to jump in and hang out. So until next time, friends, good luck. If you haven't gotten Noctis LD BT, good luck on Bosch's banner. Hope you do well. Hope you don't have to pity all of you who did. Hey, at least you got a really good character who you're going to be able to have a lot of fun with. So, hey, join us all on the week during Discord and on Facebook and Twitter. And until next week, good luck. Goodbye.